on Sirius XM channel 127, Tuesday, January 19th, and I'm giddy because it's 18 hours till Trump is gone. 18 hours. This is great. And look, sometimes you have to take a moment. Look at the big picture. We earned this. We defeated a white supremacist monster in the White House. We defeated that. And Trump, though, right to the end, with Mike Pompeo, are reminding us all the GOP has is white supremacy. It is unreal. It doesn't end. But first, we take a step back. Look at the arrests we've learned about in the last few days, and look at the common thread underneath. And I'll give away the surprise. It's white supremacy. Here we've seen arrest after arrest. There was an Army reservist who had security clearance, actually had security level security clearance. He, according to the arrest that we learned about over the weekend, was an avowed white supremacist and Nazi sympathizer. We found out more of the people who've been arrested had clear ties, either affinity or ties to white nationalist groups. We learned just a short time ago about more arrests of members of the Oath Keepers, and that they had actually, according to documents that were just unsealed just about an hour ago, really an organized plot to attack the Capitol. They're talking about 30 or 40 people in connection with each other, talking, planning. You may have seen video of people using hand signals like a military. Well, that was some of the Oath Keepers. You might go, who are the Oath Keepers? They're not just a right-wing militia. They were created in 2009 in a response to the black president, Barack Obama. That's why they were created. A lot of them are former military and former police officers. The idea of the oath keeping, they're not keeping an oath to our nation. They're keeping an oath to white supremacy and keeping a white supremacist power paradigm in place. And no one should be surprised. Please, no one be surprised by the fact that when white supremacy is challenged, it resorts to violence. That's been throughout the history of this country. That's what it does. So we learn more. And the Oath Keepers, by the way, have called Black Lives Matter a Marxist, well-funded Marxist and racist agitators. You get an idea what they're about. We also learned a short time ago that 2 out of the 12 National Guard members who were relieved of working the inauguration had ties to fringe right group militias, right-wing militias. Again, the common denominator through all of these, white nationalism, white supremacy, depending how you want to phrase it, they're similar, different goals. I mean, white nationalism has really turned America into a white nationalistic state. White supremacy is just keeping white people in control. In any event, it's despicable, it's vile, and it's been with us since the founding of our nation, and that's the reality. And that brings us to what Donald Trump and Mike Pompeo have served up in the last 2 days. Last night on Martin Luther King Day, Donald Trump released his 1776 commission. And you might recall, 1776 was the rallying cry of a lot of the QAnon people as they attacked the Capitol. To them, 1776 is no longer the idea of our independence from England and the founding of a new nation. It's a celebration of a time where white men ran everything, where black people were chattel, when they were literally slaves. That's literally, sadly, how they've co-opted 1776, which we must take away from them. Same thing, if you see the Betsy Ross flag, they saw that at the Capitol when they attacked it. The same thing, the Betsy Ross flag symbolized to them a time where white people, especially white men, ran everything. That's what they want to go back to. So Donald Trump names this 1776 commission for that in response to the 1619 Project of the New York Times, which simply documented the 400 years of slavery on North American soil, even predating the United States, obviously. Well, in this report released last night, they literally defended, literally justified the fugitive slave clause in the Constitution, where if a slave went free, it had to be returned to the owner. They justified the 3-5 compromise, which was a deal between the northern and southern members of Congress at the time, so that you would count slaves as 3/5 of a white person just for congressional representation. Because in the South, they had a lot more black people who were slaves than white people who were free, but they knew it would hurt their representation. So they came up with the 3/5 compromise, viewing black people obviously as less than full human beings. So they got 3/5 for each one. They called it a just compromise. They slammed the idea of calling out the framers of the Constitution for owning slaves. By the way, nearly half of all the delegates to the Constitutional Convention own slaves. Nearly half. Not fully half, but nearly half. But that infused a lot of things like the Three-Fifths Compromise, the Electoral College. But to the 1776 Commission, talking about that is divisive. It's bad for America. It's saying you hate this country because how dare you speak about our history in an accurate and honest way. No. You need to create a mythology. That's what they want, the 1776 Commission. They want a mythology that this country was founded and without any sins, with no fault. White people were perfect. The black slaves must have enjoyed being slaves. That the idea of the singing songs, gospel spirituals, because black people who were slaves were actually happy. This is the bullshit that they serve up. And the 1776 Commission concludes that identity politics teaches America itself to blame for oppression. That's right from the report. That identity politics teaches that America itself is to blame for oppression. America, no, people. It wasn't this land that made you oppressed. It was the framers of the Constitution. Some were slave owners, some were not. Yes, there was a debate. And that's really important for people to learn. There was debate by those who didn't want slavery in our original Constitution. They didn't want to protect it. They wanted to be a free state. But no, they lost out because the Southern plantation owners, which are very powerful, including the man known as the father of the Constitution, James Madison, and also Thomas Jefferson, owned slaves. George Washington owned slaves. You can look at people with balance, but you cannot erase their sins. This is ridiculous. So then what did Mike Pompeo do today? He amplified the report using the actual Secretary of State's Twitter account. It's run by it's the U.S. government Twitter account for the Secretary of State. The Secretary of State is a diplomat to the world. But what did he tweet today? Wokeism, I'll literally read it, not exaggerate. He wrote, wokeism, multiculturalism, and all isms, they're not who America is. They distort our glorious founding and what this country is all about. Then he adds, our enemies stoke these divisions because they know they make us weaker. Our enemies? You mean us? We're now the enemy of America because we talk about racism. We fight against anti-Semitism. We fight against anti-Muslim bigotry. We hate this country because we're the ones fighting against it and also talking about the history in this nation of slavery, of owning black people as chattel, not even like as a pet, like abusing them in ways you wouldn't do to an animal. But still, they don't want us to talk about it. We're the enemy, according to Mike Pompeo. So here's the reality. Mike Pompeo is running for president in 2024. That was his opening statement to the GOP base, which tells you where this is all going. The GOP has no policies. I'm not kidding you. What are their policies? Tax cut for the wealthy? They've already done that. What else is it? It's white grievance. It's making white people feel like they've been treated wrongly, that they are the greatest victim, and that systemic racism, which the 1776 Commission slams, calling it undermining our country to talk about systemic racism, that's all a fable. It's a myth. That's what we're dealing with. It's not going away. And when you think about it, it's intertwined with those who attacked our nation on January 6th in the name of Donald Trump. It is white supremacy. And some in the media are blunt and call it out. Others, generally a lot of white anchors, don't even get it. I don't think they understand it, or they feel uncomfortable talking about white supremacy. January 6th was a white supremacist rebellion. It was the idea of white supremacy keeping power and resorting to violence like it's done in the past to try to keep power. And what happens? Donald Trump yesterday and today, Mike Pompeo amplifies the message of white grievance, that white people have it bad, that those who talk about systemic racism, we're the problem. We are the enemies. Look, we beat Donald Trump, but Trumpism is with us. We're going to have to continue to fight. And how we're going to do it on my show, of course, I say it every night. You want progress, stay active. That's the key. Want progress, stay active. They don't want progress. There's more of us. Let's stay active. Let's win more races. Let's make this country truly something we can all be proud of without sugarcoating and erasing what our history was, which we should all know. My show's live 6 to 9 p.m. It's a great night tonight. It's the eve of Joe Biden being sworn in and Donald Trump being gone. I hope you'll join us. And, of course, tomorrow will be a big celebration. Thanks for tuning in.